All right, let's dive right in. Welcome to today's Explainer. We are going on a really fascinating, structured journey today into a super unique cosmological framework. We're unpacking a source text that boldly attempts to blend the hard mechanics of physics with the profound, cyclical concepts you usually find in Eastern philosophy. We're going to zoom all the way out to the absolute infinite expanse of space, and then zoom all the way back in, right down to the life and death cycles of individual planets. It is a wild, complex ride, but don't worry, we're going to break it all down step by step.
So imagine for a second, what if the universe isn't just some chaotic, random void born out of a massive, spontaneous explosion? What if instead, it's a perfectly balanced, meticulously organized, spinning machine? In today's Explainer, we're exploring an alternative model of cosmic life and death outlined in our source material. It's a framework that totally challenges the idea of cosmic chaos, replacing it with this incredibly intricate system of perpetual mechanical balance.
All right, let's kick things off with part 1, defining the cosmic order.
So to really wrap our heads around this framework, we have to establish its foundational law. The text actually completely redefines the very concept of existence. It proposes that the universe exists entirely because of order, period. It defines the universe as a space where the sum of negative and positive energies reaches exactly zero. It's this state of ultimate, perfect equilibrium. In this model, existence literally cannot happen without this absolute stability, where matter and antimatter are locked in this flawless system of checks and balances.
Which brings us to part 2, large and small universes.
Moving on from that absolute definition, we're going to shift our perspective a bit. We're panning down from the infinite totality of existence into localized, bordered regions of space. You know the number pi, right? 3.14159, and it just keeps going and going forever? Well, the text uses this mathematical constant as the perfect symbol for what it calls the large universe. The large universe is described as borderless, limitless, non-cycling, and eternally vast. It's an endless expanse that goes on absolutely forever, just like the digits of pi.
But here's where it gets interesting. While the large universe is this limitless expanse, it actually contains what are called small universes. And the source text uses some incredibly vivid metaphors to ground this massive concept. It describes small universes as secluded, bordered, and independent galaxy spaces. Picture a huge rushing river. That's the large universe. Now think of the countless independent little swirls and eddies within that water. Those are the small universes. Or, as the text rather charmingly puts it, imagine a henhouse filled with eggs, where every single egg is its own self-contained, secluded space.
And that leads us perfectly into part 3, the Taiji oval structure.
So, zooming in once again, right down into our specific egg in this massive cosmic henhouse, the text refers to our local pocket of space as the Earth universe, just to separate it from all the other swirling eggs out there. And it has a highly specific shape. It's described as a saucer-shaped Taiji oval, and its outer crust is completely encased in this thick, protective layer of high-energy clouds. It is entirely secluded and completely self-contained.
Now, the absolutely crucial point here is how this outer crust actually functions. The text compares this high-energy cloud layer to the stator of an electric motor. It operates as this massive, rotating magnetic field. So this outer shell is literally driving the internal cosmic motion. It pushes all the galaxies and celestial bodies inside of it, acting like the rotors of the motor, in a continuous counterclockwise rotation.
Now, if you're at all familiar with Eastern philosophy, you'll definitely recognize the Taiji concept. But there's a catch. Unlike the traditional Chinese Taoist Taiji diagram, which is a perfect circle, in this specific cosmological model, the Earth universe is distinctly oval-shaped. It still has those beautifully meshing revolvers of yin and yang, but they're stretched out into this elliptical, saucer-like form. And within this oval, we find an incredibly organized, nested hierarchy that the text calls the Lara rotary galaxy. It relies on this fascinating mathematical repetition, a rigid rule of 3,000. Get this, level 1 contains almost 3,000 rotary river galaxies. At level 2, each of those contains almost 3,000 Milky Way systems. And at level 3, each Milky Way contains almost 3,000 solar systems. We're talking about an unimaginably massive structure, yet one that's meticulously organized, kind of like a giant cosmic Russian nesting doll.
Broadly speaking, this entire Earth universe is classified into 2 distinct halves, the positive universe and the negative universe. Keep this dualistic split in the back of your mind because it becomes incredibly important as we transition from how space is structured to how time and life actually operate within it.
All right, on to our final section, part 4, Cycles of Cosmic Life.
We're shifting gears now from the spatial architecture to the actual temporal mechanics to see exactly how this oval shape dictates the flow of time and existence. According to this framework, a lot of what we observe in modern astrophysics is actually a cosmic illusion created by our geometry. Because the universe is an oval, as celestial bodies rotate closer to the short axis, the distance between them naturally widens, making it look like the universe is expanding. But as they approach the long axis, they bunch back together, making it seem like the universe is shrinking. Interestingly enough, the text notes that our Milky Way is currently floating toward the short axis, hence our current illusion of an expanding universe.
But this brings up a truly dramatic question. If everything is spinning, what happens if a celestial body just stops moving? In this model, you have to remember rotation speeds aren't constant. They're continuously changing based on exactly where a body sits on that Taiji oval.
Tracking this journey through space, when a celestial body is on the short axis, its rotation speed is maxed out. It is moving as fast as it can. But as it moves away toward the poles, that speed continuously slows down. And when it hits the very ends of the long axis, something profound happens. It comes to a brief, complete halt. It literally hits the brakes. And then, finally, as it pushes past the long axis, motion begins all over again.
That highly specific moment of halting is what the text defines as one kalpa. This is where the spiritual mechanics actually embed directly into the physics. The framework states that during this brief halt at the long axis, all physical life on that celestial body dies. The physical forms perish, while the spiritual bodies of that life enter the negative pole, the yin, of the Taiji oval. It is a moment of total, profound cosmic rest and reset.
But of course, the engine doesn't stay off forever. The process of cosmic rebirth immediately follows. As the celestial body pushes past the long axis and resumes its rotation, those spiritual bodies exit the yin, the negative pole, and enter the positive pole, the yang. They manifest once again in the form of completely new physical life. So the cycle of cosmic life continuously renews itself the exact millisecond that motion restarts.
However, things don't just magically go back to exactly the way they were before. The framework details what we might call the Great Cosmic Reshuffle. Because celestial bodies and galaxies all have totally different masses, they don't halt on the long axis for the exact same amount of time. This creates asynchronous delays. So when everything finally gets moving again, the entire universe undergoes a massive new permutation and combination. The cosmic deck of cards is completely shuffled every single cycle.
And the source text brings this massive, abstract cosmology down to a really sobering, relatable thought. It says, for example, the Earth, in the next cycle, might become a desert land like the Mars, which might be full of life like the Earth. Because of this reshuffle, the conditions of planets completely swap and evolve. Absolutely nothing is guaranteed to return to its previous physical state.
So, if nothing is permanent, if our universe is a finely tuned engine where everything eventually comes to a dead halt, only to be completely reshuffled and renewed, what will our universe look like in the next spin of the oval? It's a beautifully profound model that blends mechanical precision with philosophical impermanence, and it really leaves you wondering about our tiny temporary place in this massive, swirling cosmic egg. Thank you so much for exploring this with us today.